My brother betrayed me with my bride. Then my parents chose him. The text above translates to, my brother had an affair with my fiance. Got her pregnant before my wedding. And my parents supported him over me. My world imploded. Not gradually. Not with warnings. But in a blinding flash of betrayal that left me choking on the ashes of everything I thought was real. You think you know your family. You think you know the woman you're about to marry. But trust me, you don't. Get ready for a story so messed up, so unbelievably twisted, that I still can't believe it's my life. Buckle up, because this is going to be a long and agonizing ride. And let's be clear from the start. This isn't going to be prettied up. No sugarcoating. No holding back. I need to tell it like it is. Raw and unfiltered. I'll try to keep it as concise as humanly possible considering the sheer depth of the treachery involved. Believe it or don't. It doesn't matter. This story is so twisted. I needed to get it out of my head. So, before this all went to hell, a few months ago I was happily engaged to Sarah, my girlfriend of 5 years, and my brother. Well, let's call him Mike. He's 29. And he's always been golden in my family's eyes. To understand the full weight of what happened, you need to know the history. The festering wound of favoritism that set the stage for this entire disaster. From day one, Mike could do no wrong. I, on the other hand, was constantly under a microscope, punished for the smallest things. It wasn't just ordinary sibling rivalry. It was a deep, corrosive bias. Mike broke something. Suddenly, I was the culprit. He started a fight. I got grounded. Straight A's for both of us. He got a new video game console. And I got a pat on the back and a lecture on maintaining excellence. My parents, Tom and Linda, always had an excuse. A justification. Mike's the younger brother. He needs more attention. You're older. You should know better. We have to be careful with Mike. He's just more sensitive. It was a never-ending assault of double standards and gaslighting that left me feeling worthless in my own home. This favoritism only intensified as we got older. I got a partial scholarship to a decent college, and my parents barely acknowledged it. But when Mike decided to enroll in community college, they threw a massive celebration and bought him a car I desperately needed for my part-time job. A 5-mile bike ride each way. So I left, as soon as I could, desperate to escape the poisonous atmosphere. I worked 2 jobs, paid off debt, and juggled college. Mike dropped out after a semester, claiming college wasn't for him. My parents, they agreed, praising him for knowing himself and not conforming to societal norms. For the next 5 years, they bankrolled his string of failed business ventures, each one a new way to drain their retirement money. Even with the distance, my family always found a way to drag me back in. Holiday dinners were a minefield of subtle jabs and not-so-subtle comparisons. Still working that entry-level job. Well, Mike's considering launching another company. He's so entrepreneurial. Meanwhile, I was building an actual career while Mike was burning through my parents' savings. I tried to maintain a relationship with Mike. Despite everything, he was still my brother. After all, I'd reach out, tried to connect, but he would either ignore me or turn the conversation into some competition he had to win. If I got a promotion, he'd suddenly have an even better opportunity on the horizon. If I started dating someone, he'd, well, you'll see. I met Sarah through one of Mike's brief flings. We clicked instantly. She was friends with one of his exes. She was smart, funny, compassionate, and breathtakingly beautiful. Sarah was everything I had ever wanted in a partner. And for the first time in my life, I felt truly loved and happy. My parents, predictably, were less than thrilled. They made snide remarks about her being out of my league. Mike, on the other hand, suddenly took a great interest in my life, wanting to know everything about Sarah. At the time, I was just relieved he was showing some interest in me. That maybe, just maybe, he was starting to care. Looking back, I should have seen the flashing red warning signs. After a year of dating, Sarah and I moved in together, and things were amazing. We talked about the future, about our dreams. I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, I could have it all, a fulfilling career, a loving partner, maybe even kids someday. On our 4th anniversary, one proposed. It was just a quiet dinner at home. A heartfelt speech. Nothing extravagant. She said yes, and I felt like I was on top of the world. We decided to take our time with the wedding planning. No rush. We had our whole lives ahead of us. Or so I thought. When we told my family we were engaged, the reactions were mixed, to say the least. "Oh, how nice," my mother said, in a tone that dripped with insincerity. My father grunted, "Good luck with that," and turned back to the TV. Mike, though, his reaction was the most disturbing. He showered us with praise, but his smile felt predatory, almost wrong. I brushed it off at the time, attributing it to my own anxieties, work stress, and wedding planning. The next year was a blur of long hours at work, saving for the wedding and a down payment on a house. Looking back, I should have seen the cracks forming, the subtle shifts in Sarah's behavior. She became more distant, constantly glued to her phone. She started going out more with friends, coming home late smelling of cologne and wine. But I trusted her completely. The thought of her cheating never even crossed my mind, let alone with my own brother. Then, about 4 months ago, Sarah started acting strangely. Mood swings, restlessness, frequent crying. I even dared to hope she might be pregnant. We hadn't been trying, but we had discussed wanting children, imagining nursery colors and baby names. I started planning how I would support her. Then, one evening, she dropped the bomb. She sat me down, tears streaming down her face. "I'm pregnant," she sobbed. "But it's not yours." The world tilted. My breath hitched. I stared at her, my mind struggling to process the words. Our hectic schedules had kept us apart for a while, but I never imagined she would cheat, let alone with my own brother. She broke down completely, mumbling barely audible apologies. When I finally managed to choke out the question, "Who's the father?" my entire universe shattered. Everything I knew, everything I had built my life around, came crashing down. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I could only feel this agonizing, unbearable pain. Sarah tried to explain, her words tumbling out in a frantic rush. Apparently, it all started at our engagement party. Mike had cornered her, telling her she was making a mistake marrying me, preying on her insecurities. He told her she deserved better, that he could give her everything I couldn't. They had been having an affair for months. It wasn't just a drunken mistake. It was a calculated, drawn-out betrayal. That night, I kicked Sarah out. I couldn't stand to look at her, to be in the same room as the woman who had so completely destroyed me. She begged for forgiveness, swore it was a mistake, that she loved me. But all I could think about was how many times she had lied to my face, how many times she had been with my brother while wearing the ring I had given her. After Sarah left, I went looking for Mike. I can't even remember what I said. It was all a blur of pain and rage. At first, he tried to play it cool, dismissing it as a drunken mistake that didn't mean anything. Then, when I refused to back down, he turned hostile. "Maybe," he sneered, "if you'd been a better fiance, she wouldn't have come to me." That's when I saw red. I was ready to do anything. Anything. to make him regret those words. I got in my car and drove to my parents' house. I don't even know what I planned to do. But when I got there, my parents were already there. Because Mike, of course, had called them first. And you know what? They took his side. Always. My father just stood there with his arms crossed, a look of disappointment etched on his face. My mother immediately launched into a lecture about forgiveness and family. When I tried to explain what Mike and Sarah had done, they wouldn't listen. They insisted that family comes first, that I should forgive Mike and support Sarah through the pregnancy. That's when years of pent-up anger and bitterness exploded. I told them exactly what I thought of their warped sense of loyalty, how they had always favored Mike at my expense, how they had never once stood up for me. I told Mike he was dead to me, that he was no longer my brother. And I told my parents that they could have their golden boy, the son they had always wanted, because they no longer had me. Ignoring their calls and pleas, I drove for hours, aimlessly, just wanting to escape. When I finally got home, I had hundreds of missed calls and messages, some from Sarah begging for another chance, some from Mike offering hollow apologies, but mostly from my parents, demanding that I grow up. I barely slept. I called out of work, using all my vacation time. One avoided everyone, unable to face the thought of explaining what had happened. I just sat in my apartment, replaying every moment of my relationship with Sarah, every interaction with Mike, trying to figure out where I had gone wrong. To cope, I changed my number, moved to a new apartment, and started therapy. But even that wasn't enough. My family wouldn't let go. They kept finding ways to intrude on my life, showing up at my work, trying to ambush me, desperately trying to force a reconciliation. My mother cornered me in the parking lot. My dad left angry voicemails about me needing to man up and forgive Mike. Mike even tried to approach me a few times, but I managed to avoid him. To guilt-trip me, they even dispatched flying monkeys, extended family members I hadn't spoken to in years, suddenly blowing up my phone, reminding me how important family is, how I should let bygones be bygones. They seemed to be living in some alternate reality where what Mike and Sarah did was just a minor indiscretion, not a life-shattering betrayal. The latest twist. Yesterday, Sarah sent me a letter. She said she was committed to co-parenting with Mike and keeping the baby. And guess what? My parents are ecstatic about becoming grandparents, completely ignoring the circumstances and the horrible things they said about Sarah when she was with me. The letter was full of apologies and justifications, claiming that she and Mike had discovered true love in the face of adversity. She even dared to say she hoped the child could benefit from us all being friends someday. I'm at the end of my rope. Part of me wants to just cut ties completely and start over somewhere else. Change my name. Create a new life where none of this ever happened. But another part of me is so consumed by rage that I want to stay and fight, to make them understand the magnitude of what they've done. I don't know what to do. Every aspect of my life has been poisoned by this betrayal. Being alone with my thoughts is unbearable. I can't even think about dating, terrified of trusting someone again. People tell me I should take the high road, reconcile with my family, as if I'm the one who did something wrong. I've even lost friends over this. People who think I should move on. The thought of Sarah and Mike having a child together, a child that should have been mine, is like a constant knife in my gut. Logically, I know the child is innocent, but its parents are lying, cheating scum, and I can't feel anything positive about its existence. My parents have even started talking about my responsibility to be involved in the child's life, about my role as an uncle. The thought makes me physically ill. How am I supposed to interact with that child without seeing a constant reminder of my brother's treachery? So, Reddit, I need to know. Am I the a-hole for not forgiving my brother and ex-fiancé? Is it wrong of me to want to cut off my family over this? Any guidance on how to move forward would be greatly appreciated because right now, I feel like I'm drowning in a sea of gaslighting and betrayal. I know this was long. If you've read this far, thank you. Just writing it all out has been cathartic. In a way, I don't know what to expect from posting this. Maybe validation. Maybe just a chance to scream into the void and have anyone, hear me? Edit. Holy shit. This blew up overnight. I appreciate all the support and advice. The response is overwhelming, and it will take some time to read through all the comments. But I wanted to answer some common questions. 1. Yes. I've discussed a restraining order against my family with a lawyer. It's in the works. 2. No. I have no intention of interacting with the baby. The child is not at fault. But I can't be involved without losing my mind. 3. For those curious about my job, I've spoken to HR. They're supportive and aware of the situation. They've offered me the option to work from home regularly and increased security at the front desk. I appreciate their understanding. 4. To those asking if I've considered moving, I am definitely considering it. There are offices of my company in other cities. A relocation might be possible. I'm weighing the pros and cons. 5. To those suggesting DNA testing, Sarah confessed to the affair, and the timeline makes sense. I have no reason to believe the child isn't Mike's. Even if, by some miracle, it turned out to be mine, I don't think I could ever look at that child without thinking about this. The number of people sharing similar stories has been overwhelming. Knowing how common this kind of betrayal is breaks my heart, but it also strangely comforts me because I'm not alone. I appreciate everyone's vulnerability and sharing. To the person asking if I've thought about suing Mike for alienation of affection, I looked into it, but unfortunately, my state doesn't allow it. Though right now, I'm not sure I have the energy for a legal battle. Many of the articles I've been reading about narcissistic personality disorder resonate with me. While it doesn't excuse his behavior, it helps me understand it. For anyone wondering about Sarah's family, they are horrified and disgusted. They've cut off contact with her and reached out to me to offer their support. It's little consolation, but I appreciate it. To be honest, this whole experience has made me question whether I even want a family anymore. But I'm trying not to make any major decisions while I'm still processing everything. I'll let you know if anything else happens. Right now, I'm focusing on healing and moving forward. Once again, thank you. Reddit. You've helped more than you know. Your guidance and encouragement have been a lifeline in the middle of this storm and have given me much to think about. While I can't respond to every comment, please know that I'm reading them all, and they've helped me feel less alone in this. Update 1. Hey Reddit. It's been a total roller coaster of 2 weeks since my last post. First of all, I want to thank everyone for the amazing advice and support. Reading through all your responses has been both heartbreaking and oddly comforting. I never expected my post to blow up like this. The frequency of this type of betrayal is sickening. To say that the last several weeks have been challenging would be an understatement. Remember how I mentioned working on a restraining order? Well, that turned into a complete show. After my attorney submitted the paperwork, we scheduled a hearing. Considering the circumstances, the ongoing harassment, I thought it would be simple. I was wrong. My parents showed up to the hearing with their own attorney, a polished man in an expensive suit, likely charging more per hour than I earn in a week. They claimed I was tearing the family apart over a minor misunderstanding, as if Mike had simply stumbled and fallen into my fiance. They painted me as the unstable one. Thankfully, the judge wasn't buying it. She issued the restraining order against Mike and my parents, but not without my mother sobbing in the courtroom and my father glaring at me like I had committed a capital crime. Mike's expression, though, I swear, if looks could kill, I'd be 6 feet under. As we were leaving the courtroom, Mike tried to get to me, but my attorney reminded him of the newly issued restraining order. She stepped between us. Mike just scoffed and said, "You can't hide behind a piece of paper forever. This isn't over." If I said his words didn't rattle me, I'd be lying. For now, at least, I have some legal protection. Another nightmare has been the workplace situation. Recall how I mentioned my family had begun showing up at my work? That escalated last week. While I was in a meeting with a client, my assistant buzzed in, reporting that my mother was in the lobby, causing a scene. Apparently, she had brought a photo album and was trying to show my colleagues baby pictures of Mike and me, weeping about how close her boys used to be. I excused myself from the meeting and went down to the lobby, where I found my mother surrounded by a group of bewildered-looking colleagues. She rushed toward me when she saw me, babbling about a baby shower for Mike and Sarah. But I stopped her. I told her she needed to leave immediately, or I would call the police and have her arrested for trespassing and violating the restraining order. Her face looked like I had slapped her. But after everything they've put me through, I couldn't bring myself to care. Security escorted her out, and I spent the next hour doing damage control with my employer and colleagues. Fortunately, most of them were understanding, but I could tell that some were wondering what kind of drama I was bringing into the workplace. But the incident with Mike was where things really went off the rails. Last Saturday, I was at the gym, trying to work out some of my anger on the punching bag. I was so focused on my workout that I didn't notice someone approaching me until I heard his voice. I turned around and saw Mike grinning at me, like he hadn't just violated a restraining order. He started running his mouth, loud enough for others nearby to hear. He chuckled when I told him to leave before I called the police, claiming he would tell them how I had been threatening him and Sarah. That's when I snapped. I threw a punch, connecting with his jaw. He stumbled backward, then lunged at me. Except this time, there was no one to tell me to be the bigger person and let Mike get away with it. We ended up on the floor, trading blows like we were kids again, but without parents to break us up. I managed to land a few good hits before the gym staff pulled us apart. I could feel my eyes swelling shut, while Mike's nose was bleeding profusely. We were both screaming obscenities. Only when the gym manager threatened to call the police did I come to my senses. I got changed and left, still shaking with adrenaline. As I was driving home, I answered a call from an unknown number against my better judgment. It was Sarah, screaming at me about how I had broken Mike's nose and that he might need surgery. I laughed, telling her that he deserved it. Her anger at me, after everything they had done, seemed ludicrous. I apologized for hurting her little boyfriend, the one she had been sleeping with behind my back for months. She started to cry, rambling about her stress, how the baby could feel her pain, and how selfish I was being. I blocked the number and hung up. The fight had consequences. Word had spread through our social circle like wildfire. My phone was exploding with texts from friends and family, some supporting me, others calling me names for attacking my poor, defenseless brother. Sarah's parents reached out again, expressing their disgust with their daughter and reiterating their support for me. It was meager consolation, but at this point, I'll take anything I can get. These days, the restraining order feels inadequate. Mike has proven he's willing to break it, so I'm worried about what he'll do next. The legal fallout has been a nightmare. The day after the gym incident, my attorney called me. Apparently, Mike had accused me of assault. I explained what had happened, how Mike had provoked me, how he had violated the restraining order. My lawyer groaned, saying that because I threw the first punch, it might be an uphill battle. We're already pressing our own charges against Mike for violating the restraining order, and my attorney believes this will strengthen our case. I had to show the police the bruises on my face and knuckles and give them a statement. Having to defend myself against my own brother is humiliating. Mike and I have both been banned from the gym, which I can't really blame them for. But it sucks because the gym was one of the only places where I felt like I could release some of my anger. I've always been close to my cousin Amy, and she contacted me the other day. The family has been complaining about her supporting me, but she's not wavering. She shared some of what's been going on behind the scenes. Apparently, my parents have been telling everyone that I'm having some kind of mental breakdown. They claim I'm just jealous and can't let go of Sarah and Mike's relationship, which they say started shortly after our breakup. While some family members are buying it, Amy said many others aren't. Knowing that they're out there spreading lies about me while I'm trying to heal is infuriating. Things at work have been tense, to say the least. I can sense that my colleagues are walking on eggshells around me, following the incident with my mother in the lobby and the fight with Mike. Earlier this week, my manager called me into his office. He started by saying that he valued me as an employee and that he knows I'm going through a difficult time. But then he dropped the hammer. He said he thinks it would be best if I took some time off, just until things calm down. If I wanted, he said, we could call it a personal sabbatical. Of course, I wanted to argue, to tell him that work is the only thing keeping me sane right now. But I could see the decision had already been made. I agreed, thanked him for his understanding, and started packing up my office. As I was leaving, I overheard two of my colleagues gossiping about how my brother had gotten my fiance pregnant. I slammed my office door louder than necessary, feeling a small amount of satisfaction as I saw them jump. It would be a lie to say that all of this isn't affecting me. To escape my apartment, I've started taking long drives late at night. Sometimes, I find myself parked outside my old apartment, the one I shared with Sarah, wondering how the hell my life turned into such a mess. Amidst all this chaos, I found support from an unlikely source. Sarah's younger sister, Emma, contacted me on social media, apologizing for her sister's behavior and offering her support. At first, I was skeptical, wondering if it was some kind of trick. But after talking to her, I realized she genuinely shares my disgust for Sarah's actions. She's been sharing details about Sarah and Mike's life. Apparently, they've moved in together and are acting like they didn't just blow up several lives to be together. Emma says Sarah has been trying to portray herself as the victim in all of this, claiming she never meant to hurt anyone and that she and Mike are soulmates who found each other against all odds. It makes me want to vomit. But I appreciate Emma keeping me informed. After all, information is power, even if it's information I'd rather not have. Another disaster has been the social media situation. I've always been a private person on social media, but this whole situation has thrust me into an unwelcome public spotlight. Someone, probably one of Mike's friends, posted about our situation on a local Facebook group. The post didn't mention our names, but it included enough details for anyone who knows us to figure it out. The comments section turned into a war zone. Some people were supporting me, saying Mike got what he deserved. Others were calling me unhinged and saying I should be locked up. One night, after a few too many beers, I made the mistake of reading some of the comments. I ended up throwing my phone across the room hard enough to crack the screen. Since then, I've deactivated most of my social media accounts. The constant notifications and messages from people I haven't spoken to in years, suddenly wanting all the juicy details of my personal life, are too much to handle. After everything that's happened, I've realized that I can't continue to live in this city. There are too many memories, too many chances of running into Mike, Sarah, or my parents. I've been looking into transfers within my company. Our Seattle office has a promising opening. I've never loved constant rain, but at this point, I'd move to the moon if it meant escaping all of this drama. I haven't made any decisions yet, but the idea of a fresh start is becoming more and more appealing. A new city. A new apartment. A new life. Where no one remembers me as the guy whose brother knocked up his fiancée. Since the restraining order was issued, my parents have been uncharacteristically silent. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, for them to find some new way to try to force their way back into my life. Sarah has been spreading the news of her pregnancy far and wide. Emma tells me she's been posting regular updates on social media, ultrasound pictures, belly shots. The works, always with a caption about how grateful she and Mike are and how excited they are to start their family. Every new detail feels like reopening an old wound, one that was just starting to heal. So, that's where things stand. 2 weeks ago, I thought my life couldn't get any more chaotic. But, strangely, it did. I'm still angry, but I'm also exhausted. Tired of justifying myself. So, Reddit. I suppose this is more of an update than a request for advice. Right now, I'm not even sure what I'm asking for advice. Validation. A time machine. So I could go back and never introduce Sarah to my brother. I'll try to keep you all updated on whatever happens next. Your support means more to me than you can imagine. It's helpful to be reminded that, even though it feels like lies and betrayal are consuming my life, there are still decent people out there. Final update. Hey Reddit. I'm back with what I expect to be my last post on this whole fiasco after not updating for a week. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for your help and guidance throughout this entire process. Your comments have truly been a lifeline during the worst time of my life. Where therefore do I want to start? In just 7 days, a lot has transpired. I'm still trying to make sense of it all. I suppose I should begin with the biggest news. I'm moving. That's right. I took the plunge and accepted a transfer to our Seattle headquarters. While it wasn't an easy decision, I knew I needed a fresh start after everything that's happened. The decision came after a particularly horrible day last week. I had just returned from another meeting with my attorney regarding Mike's assault charges when I found a note in my mailbox. From Sarah. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it, even though I almost threw it away. Inside was a handwritten note expressing her and Mike's excitement about their baby, along with an ultrasound picture. She went on about how the baby would love to have its uncle in its life and how I should find it in my heart to be happy for them. That's when something snapped. I grabbed my phone, unblocked Sarah's number, and dialed before I could think twice. She picked up on the second ring, and I let her have it. I told her exactly what I thought of her, Mike, and their picture-perfect little family. I told her that if she thought for 1 second that I would ever want anything to do with that child, she was delusional. As far as I was concerned, she, the baby, and Mike could all go straight to hell. It wasn't my finest moment. All the rage that I'd been holding back just exploded. That's when I knew I had to leave this city. That same evening, I found my supervisor and told him I wanted to move to Seattle. To be honest, he was probably concerned about how this drama would affect the company. He promised to expedite the paperwork, and by the next morning, it was official. Word of my move soon spread through my family and social circle. My parents, predictably, were furious, once again violating the restraining order. They showed up at my apartment unannounced, trying to talk me out of it. They accused me of abandoning the family. My mother was crying, red-faced and ranting about my selfish and immature behavior. My father was just yelling. I didn't say a word. I just called the police and had them escorted off the property for violating the restraining order. My mother screamed that I would regret this. That family was everything, and that I was throwing it all away as they were being taken away. I simply closed the door and went back to packing. Mike responded in a different way. Presumably because of the ongoing legal issues, he didn't try to contact me directly. Instead, He posted a lengthy message on social media about how some people can't stand to see others happy and how he and Sarah were overcoming hate and focusing on their new family. I'll confess, it stung to see how many people liked and commented in support of him. But I told myself that their opinions didn't matter because they didn't know the truth. One of the most surprising reactions came from Sarah. Following our phone call, she contacted her sister, Emma, who, you may recall, had been keeping me in the loop about Sarah and Mike's progress. Apparently, my words hit harder than I expected. Emma told me that Sarah had broken down, admitting that she was terrified of the future and that she knew what she and Mike had done was wrong. Bless her heart. My cousin Amy offered to help me pack. She also shared some more insights into the family dynamic. Amy told me that my aunt, my mother's sister, had a major argument with my mother, calling her out for consistently favoring Mike and driving me away. It got ugly, with my aunt saying that after years of favoritism, my parents were finally reaping what they had sown. While the legal case is still pending, my attorney assures me that my move won't affect anything. Mike violated the restraining order, so we're still pursuing those charges, and we're contesting the assault charges he filed against me. Given Mike's history of violating the restraining order, my attorney is confident that the judge will see through his lies. Moving across the country should also help prove that I'm not a threat to Mike, which should help get the assault charges dropped. After all of this, starting over means leaving the past behind. I think it's time for me to step away from this narrative and concentrate on building my new life instead of reliving the old one. So, this seems to be my final update. Wish me luck. I have a completely fresh life waiting for me in Seattle, and I want to make the most of it. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you. Based on the story I've told, do you think I handled things correctly? Should I have tried harder to reconcile with my family? Or was cutting them off the only way to protect myself? I'm really curious to hear your thoughts and opinions on all of this, so please feel free to share them in the comments. I need to know if I was too hasty with how I handled everything now that I've had the opportunity to share it all.